it hasn't been improved. Our goal, and we have spoken to Spectrum, is to get money from them to actually improve the site that we are looking to relocate these citizens on. And so they have agreed to provide and to work with the city to provide funding to move for us to be able to move expeditiously to relocate these citizens. And so, you know, at this point in time, if we do not give the okay or start to move down this road, then what will happen is Spectrum will evict these citizens, and they will not provide us any funding to actually improve the site and to do what we need to do on the site in order to make it habitable. And these particular citizens will set up an encampment somewhere else. And so I don't know if there is an alternative here besides us working with the land bank and council, putting in some requirements of what it is that you're looking for, outlining those so that we can address those through the land bank and with the community land trust and the providers. Any provider, churches, anyone that wants to help, we welcome that. You know, we have put out a call to all of the homeless providers to be a part of this, to you know, to want to help these particular citizens be able to live freely in the way that they want to live. And as I said before, there hasn't been any issues besides garbage, meaning like fighting or any issues that the police have to be called, or we have to go down there and break up certain things, or any unsavory activities that have been happening. The only issue that has really been of trouble is the amount of waste and garbage that has been there. And so we would be able to provide services as far as and provide trash cans. We've talked to the citizens that will be staying there about that, and our DES team will work with them directly, as well as the consortium, to be able to provide that garbage toter and other things for them, so that it's not a place that is filled with trash.
Council President.
Mayor, I generally support the concept. I think it has some internal dissonance. You know, on the one hand, we're concerned about not having really solid plans for providing service and being real clear about what this is going to look like. On the other hand, I recognize that people that we're talking about don't necessarily want those services. They want to be left alone. So how do we balance those things out? I'm not clear about that. I, at this juncture, have more questions than answers. I believe they can be provided, but we do need some time to look at it. We've talked about it generally for a bit, but not specifically enough to know solidly exactly what it is we're developing and how it's going to look in a larger context. For example, those 4 or 5 people that we're talking about, that's a nice little group, but suppose 4 or 5 more want to join that group. Can they do it? If there's another group of 4 or 5 that like that model, but they want to be on the other side of town, are we going to set them up too? No. Those might be broader questions, but we need to have them out there enough to at least consider them and have the conversation.
Right. So, no, if someone wanted to set up a shop on the other side of town, no, we would not allow that to happen. As I said before, the services that are being provided right now at the encampment, because the encampment grows and then it shrinks. It grows and it shrinks. So someone gets evicted from their home, they come to the encampment, they may stay for a night. We have homeless providers that go down there once a week and, you know, talk to people, new people. Most people that they have spoken to agree, especially if they were in prior housing, they agree to go into shelter, and they agree to providing, you know, accepting the services that are offered through the homeless consortium right now. And so this encampment has shrunk, and it has grown, and it has shrunk, and it has grown, and over time, but consistently, it has been these particular 5 people that have been the base of the encampment. What happens today will continue to happen. And it will continue to happen, from my understanding from, Carol Wheeler and our team, that people will continue to go into the encampment, continue to talk to people, continue to offer them services, continue to ask them to go into permanent housing and things like that. And most new people, that's what they want. They don't want to live outside in this condition, and they accept those services. And so I don't worry about that being an issue. As it pertains to setting up shop anywhere else, it will give us the ability to shut down any other place where an encampment may come up, because we have a space where we have allowed for this to happen. And so we can go in and we can actually say, you know what, this can't happen here, and remove it immediately, instead of, not having an alternative. And so I understand council's reservations and concerns. My hope is that we'll be able to provide enough information to give the property to the land bank, for council to outline all the questions and answers that you want answered before the land bank is allowed to sell it to the community land trust and them to lease it. But we want to be able to get started on developing the property and letting Spectrum know the exact cost, and also to let them know that we're moving forward, because they are answering to a higher administration or organization. Charter is a national organization. They could care less what's not necessarily care less, but the issue here is that they're going to move with or without us. And I don't want to put our citizens, our officers, and in a position where this encampment sets up somewhere and we have to go in again, move them, because they are not going to go into any housing we provide. Once Spectrum moves them off of this land, they're going to go somewhere, and I can't guarantee you where they will go. And that, for me, is an issue that I think that we all should be concerned about. And concerned about because of the fact of some of the places that they have said that they liked are not necessarily places where I know the other citizens that want to live in traditional housing and other things would want them to be.
Okay, so I hear you, and God bless you. I get it. I understand why you're doing it. I get the time constraint. But you made a statement where you said, if someone else wanted to do this somewhere else, we would block them. And I don't understand how we could block them, because I don't understand how we actually have the legal authority to actually do this. I don't know, where is it in our code and in our charter that we have the ability to establish this manner or form of housing? So that's a huge concern for me. I'm not opposed to developing the site and having the folks be over there if council agrees that we want to embrace this type of housing. So if we want to do this, I'm certainly in favor of having that conversation, and I would be in favor of it. But I think we also need to have some manner of rule and structure, and it needs to be expressed in our codes and in our zoning.
So currently, we do not, the city code does not address this issue. Currently, it does not address this issue. If you want to put in a city code that this is the only place that a encampment will be allowed, I mean, council was well within their ability to do that and ensure that it can't be set up anywhere else. So, I think that the mechanism or right now, the focus is, what do we do about this encampment today? And how do we deal with this encampment right now? This encampment has been around for a decade. For a decade, we have moved these people from location to location to location. Right now, we are in a situation where they will be moved. where they will be moved will be up to the 9 people on council, because either they're going to go to a place that they have agreed to go to, that we can provide those services and provide that support to, or they will go somewhere else. And so where that somewhere else is, I don't know. And so are we going to arrest them if they set up somewhere else? Are we going to, automatically shut it down if they go somewhere else? I can guarantee you that where they plan on going, you're going to get calls, you're going to get concerns, you're going to get all of that. So my thing is, let's figure out a way to do it. Address your concern of, okay, well, what if they want to set up an encampment somewhere else? Okay, well, let's put it in the city code that this is the only place that this type of housing will be allowed. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
To address the issue of the aesthetics and, the way it looks today, we plan on, and we have a preliminary plan, and we have somebody that's willing to pay for it, so it's not on the city's taxpayers' dollars. We are not putting our officers or our citizens in a place where they are going to have to either enforce this particular move or relocation, but we are, and part of the reason why we're taking it, the steps that we are taking it, is because I recognize that we've talked about it conceptually, and that there are other things that we need to iron out. And in ironing those things out, we can do that through the city's land bank. The land bank is controlled by the city. And so council can outline, these are the 10 things that we need to do in order for this property to therefore be sold to the community land trust. But you have to say that. What is it that you're looking for? At the end of the day, unless we know that, we can't act. And I know for a fact, the one thing that will happen is come September 1st, these people will be off Spectrum land. Come September 1st, we either have a place for them to go, or they will go out into the community and they will set up an encampment somewhere else, and we'll have to deal with it then. I'm asking you to allow us to start the process of dealing with it now, so that we can find a place that they have agreed to go to, that they have, and work with them to bring in the aesthetics and improvements that need to be made on the property, and work with anyone that wants to be at the table, churches, community organizations, the continuum of care, whomever, to provide the wraparound services to this to this group of people that we need to provide. We're doing it already anyways. We're just bringing some uniform and some structure to it so that we don't have to continue to disrupt these people's lives. They want to be left alone.
Thank you. Well, council member.
Sorry, I just want to make one more comment. I think it was 3 years ago or so when when one of the encampments shut down and they moved over into the Buckingham property on Canal Street. And when that occurred, there were a number of people who were part of the service provider network for those folks. I think it was what became Reach, who on a regular basis
that was the House of Mercy. That was the House of Mercy.
Oh yeah, that's right. Kelly was at the neighborhood meetings too. It was the House
of Mercy that actually ran that.
Yeah. So there were a number of people who were coming to my neighborhood association right next door, Susan B. Anthony neighborhood, and ensuring that there was some level of accountability seems like the wrong word, but just some level of conversation so that neighbors could know what was going on. I completely understand that those plans are being worked out and they're not developed yet, but it sounds to me like with what Ed said and the fact that we have folks from House of Mercy, St. Joe's, and the Land Trust here, it's being worked on. I think that is incredibly important. I think the makeup of this 501c3 board, 7 members, I think that's vitally important. And it feels strange for me to think about voting on this before those things are settled, but I understand the situation of time too, and I just wonder if the big deadline is September 1st, and that's what it sounds like, if there are opportunities beyond voting for it in the next 5 days for us to figure out that board mechanism, the site control, all that stuff before September 1st.
Well, the time frame, because part of it is that you have to, give Spectrum a number. You have to get the materials. You have to order it. You have to prepare the site. You have to do all these things in order to do that. And so that is, that's the time frame that we're pushing up against. And so in the next 5 days, yes, we can talk about and we can meet with the neighborhood associations and we can, work through I think that they understand the legal mechanisms and other things like that. They have, Ed Harahan is a great attorney working with them to make sure that this works out correctly, working with our law department as well. And so this is not a fly-by-night type of thing that we're trying to throw together. The reason why we're not doing a direct sale to the community land trust is so that all those things that you're talking about can be worked out. What I'm asking council to do is to sell the property to the city of Rochester's land trust. And during that sale, and to outline what it is that you're looking for before that land trust can therefore sell it to the community land trust in order for it to be operated as such an encampment. And so the step that we're asking you to take is not to sell it to the community land trust and them to go forward, but to allow us to transfer the ownership of the property to our land bank. And then while we're working through all of these other steps, we're doing things simultaneously. Without this first step, then all the other things can't happen. We can't afford to wait until August for this legislation to get passed, because then it pushes back the deadline. And I'm saying to Spectrum, and Spectrum has given the city a firm deadline that they have to make repairs to their property. There are some lines underneath that site that this current encampment is under that needs to get repaired during construction season. We all know Rochester. We don't know when snow is going to fall. And they have already delayed their construction on that site from April to now September, because we've been working on this and trying to figure this out as a courtesy to the city.
Councilmember Spall.
Thank you. Just a couple quick things. So we know it's not the best answer, but it's the best we've got, right? I mean, I think we have to say that. We all agree. I want us to also continue to really look at the housing first model, and that's the kind of thing that I pledge that we can help. So there are other models where folks like the folks you're describing would come in, but not what we have right now. And that's even more controversial. But I'm going to tell you something. We've got to do something. This is not perfect. Let's do it. Let's do it right. I don't know if you want a council member on your committee, but I offer my experience of almost 20 years of homeless services for your help. We've got to do something, and let's do it. But let us continue to ask these questions, the neighbors, the engagement Mitch is talking about, the questions Loretta's asking. The county, you didn't answer directly Adam's question because we know the answer. So there's that. We don't have to go public with it. But, so yeah, they're not helping us. And that's really, honestly, this is their what? It's their concern. It's their book of business, right? It's not ours. Adam's absolutely right. You did a really good job of answering, but without saying that, and I get it. So we know that we don't have an ally where it should be, but we have to push that as well. And that I think we have to do, and I'm committed to do that with you. So I'm not on the committee, so I'm just talking here. But I do think we've got to do something, and I honor, again, I'm grateful that we are dealing with human beings who may not have the same choice we do, but finally we're dealing with them as people who happen to be homeless rather than homeless people. So I congratulate you, and for what it's worth, I think we need to move ahead.
I thank you for that, Councilmember Spa, and as I said, anybody that wants to help us with this, we welcome. The table is set, and we welcome any ideas and thoughts, because we don't have all the answers for this. This is something that we know exists, and we've been dealing with for a decade, and we will monitor it very, very closely and be on top of any issues and concerns, because we know that this is a difficult situation. I firmly agree, housing first. It is the preferred model. We will continue to push that. We will continue to work with that. But as I said before, also know that this group of people have decided for the last decade they want to live outside, and they have been. And they've been living on other people's property, living in places where the city doesn't necessarily want them to live, where our citizens don't want them to live. And it's time that we recognize that and give them some dignity by finding a space that they can live the way that they want to live, and be okay with that.
Councilmember Evans?
I'm breaking my rules. It's the first time in 7 months that I'm speaking at a committee. Asking a question at a committee that I'm not a member of. But I usually try to just be quiet on the committees that I'm not a member of. But I'll just say, just from hearing the conversation, it sounds like, and the mayor, I think you already answered my question, that by asking council to consider this site, this is not the end of the conversation. This is kind of just the start of it. And the other thing I'll say is that I think that you do have to have some type of site identified in order to go forward to do any of the stuff that we're talking about. So I think it's just a matter of order of operation, which comes first. Are you gonna, should we talk about wanting to, the services we want to provide to these people? But if we're gonna do that, we need to know where they're gonna be. And it sounds like there's a timeline, there's a time frame that needs to happen here. So I understand that, and I sympathize with that, and I think it's important that at least we have some type of area, some type of space where these people are going to be identified, and then not lose all of the things that were just said. I don't think that by identifying the site that we're saying, okay, that's the end, and they're going to run, because it is the city that's still going to control that site, if I'm correct, until a correct plan is outlined, implemented, vetted, and people have time to weigh in on it. If that's the case, I'm okay with that, but I think it is very important to identify a space so that way these people are not encroaching on people's private space.
You're 100% right, Councilmember Evans. This is a site that, after looking at 20 other sites that they have agreed to, and the city has been able to offer them as a possible site. And this is the beginning of the conversation, not the end of the conversation as it pertains to council. Allowing us to sell the property, to transfer the property ownership to the land bank, allows us to still maintain control. Our law department will be working with their lawyers of this not-for-profit organization that's being set up to outline all of the issues and concerns. During that time, we would be meeting with neighbors, letting them understand what we're doing. We'll be getting the landscaping and all the other things that we need to do, the price, so that we can give that to Spectrum, and showing them that we're moving forward with what we plan to do. And so we are not relinquishing any control here. We're just moving the property from the city's ownership to the land bank's ownership to outline all of those specific details, and welcome council to let us know what it is that you would like to see handled in that before that transfer is transferred over to the Community Land Trust.
Council members Clifford and Ortiz, questions, concerns, or comments?
I think mine have been answered by my colleagues, so thank you.
Thank you. Good. All right. Well, we're going to hold it, but hopefully we can get we can get the rest of the questions answered and issues dealt with so that we can address this on Tuesday.
Thank you.
That completes everything that we had scheduled for this Neighborhood and Business Development Committee. But I do have an item that is currently being held that I would like to bring out. That is introductory number 150, authorizing an agreement related to the mortgage financing and extending the deed reverter date for affordable senior housing projects at Cobbs Hill Village, Plymouth Gardens, and Seth Green Park. At this time, I need a motion to discharge.
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
Okay, so we've got it. So we got a discharge? What else do we have? We got a vote? We got a vote on the discharge? You just vote on it. So now we need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
And we need a second. Second. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Aye. All opposed? Nay. Item passes. That completes the work of the Neighborhood and Business Development Committee.
from this one. Oh, wait. We're running behind, so if you could move quickly so that we could continue our meetings, please.
I'm going to call the Parks and Public Works Committee to order, please, and I'm going to ask that the clerk please call the roll.
Councilmember Evans?
Present.
Councilmember Gruber?
Here.
Councilmember Spall?
Here.
Vice President McFadden?
Here.
President Scott?
Here.
Thank you. And if I could just ask individuals to please take your conversations out in the hallway, please, so we can get through the business of the Parks and Public Works Committee.
Oh, I'm sorry. So sorry. So
Thank you.
sorry.
The first item on the agenda is introductory number 264, authorizing pavement width changes for Field Street at school number 35. A public hearing will be held on this at 5 p.m. after the July 19, 2018 committee meetings. Is there any questions, comments, or concerns on introductory number 264?
So moved? Oh, Molly has a
Move
question.
second. Okay. Question.
Wait, Molly had a question.
Yes, she does, but it's been moved and seconded, so that's fine. She can ask her question, then we can vote on it. Commissioner.
Thank you. Just a quick question. Does this change at all the traffic patterns of Laburnum Crescent? Other side?
No, it would not.
So it's same there.
It's basically changing the width so that school buses can basically park in front of the
Okay.
school and allows children to enter and exit the buses.
I know they're making changes to the parking lot in the back, so I just wasn't sure if there was any increased access back there.
No, that wouldn't make any, this wouldn't make any changes to that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. This has already been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you. Introductory number 265 is appropriating funds for the Center City Two-Way Conversion Project Phase 2. Questions, comments, or concerns on introductory number 265?
Just one question. Commissioner, I appreciate the answer you gave about the bike lanes. I'm just not that good with geography. So can you explain to me how does it connect to the nice bike paths that we put down on Main and Broad, or on Broad, I believe?
There'll be a direct connection to those bike lanes. You would, going east and west, there'll be.
I know those. I know east and west. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
there'll be a direct connection. So there'll be a good flow of traffic, and it shouldn't be a break in it.
Great. Thank you.
Anything else on this? Motion to approve?
So moved.
Move seconded. Thank you. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Introductory number 266 is a bond ordinance of the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $327,000 in bonds of said city to finance the acquisition, equipment, and installation of street lighting upgrades of portions of 87 streets related to the citywide arterial street lighting upgrades project. Questions, comments, concerns on 266? May I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
It's been moved to second. Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Introductory number 267 requires an amendment. I would ask for an amendment to modify the language to amend the funding share requirements for La Marqueta to 80% local and 20% state.
Move to amend.
It's been moved to amend. Is there a second? Second. Back to the original motion. Any questions on introductory number 267 as amended? Oh, all those in favor of the amended?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Questions on the introductory number 267? Hearing none. Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Introductory number 268. Being that we went over in the last meeting, this is exciting. Introductory number 268, authorizing agreements and appropriating funds for the Interloop North Transformation Project Scoping Study. Mr. Commissioner, I don't know if there's anything you want to say briefly about that. That is an exciting opportunity for the city.
This is a continuation of what we've done with the Interloop Phase 1, Interloop East. We've found that this was a very successful venture. The first phase had 7.5 acres of land that was made available for redevelopment. This project will provide us with 21 acres of land. The $1 million here will be for scoping and community outreach and really having a chance to talk to everyone within the community about their needs, the impacts, and the effects of this project. We received funding from the Assemblyman David Gant to push this forward, and we're looking forward to another successful venture dealing with the inner loop, correcting something that happened in the past and moving this forward. We've already reached out and we've already had some communications with some of the community groups already about their concerns and issues. So we're looking at an exciting engagement with our citizens, community around this opportunity.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anything else on introductory number 268? Councilwoman Spall.
Thank you. Commissioner, the price tag is, we also don't, whoa, and there's no actual, it's all soft services really, right? I mean, soft services in that it's not actually digging or adding or something. So is this about, does it seem like I mean, I know the money's coming in, so that's great. Does it seem like a high price tag? Is there something about this that makes it even more difficult or even more expensive? Is that kind of average for this kind of project?
Yeah, Councilperson Spall. This is par for the course. This is a good price. Okay. I wouldn't settle for any gouging.
I know, yeah.
The scoping phase for the inner loop phase 1 was roughly $5 million.
Okay.
And that was 1/3 of the size of this project.
Okay.
So if you look at that in comparison, you would say you probably need about $1.5 million. So we're right in the ballpark. It's a good range.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else on Councilmember Patterson?
I'd just like to take this time to thank the administration and you, in particular, Commissioner Jones, for the wonderful work you've done on this project. I'm sure these dollars will be well spent, and we will be very happy with the outcome.
Why, thank you.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to adopt?
So
one
Oh, I'm sorry, Madam President.
I'm sorry. Just a
President
final
Scott.
question. Given the planning and design cost, what would you just sort of roughly estimate the price tag of the actual development to be?
Are you sitting down? Anywhere between $55 to $75 million.
Wow. Wow.
That's a lot of jobs.
Absolutely. But you really have to look at, you're looking at a potential of around 20 acres of developmental land. You're going to break down any barriers to downtown and these different neighborhoods. You see development going on at the brewery that you're going to have connection to, development going on with Rock the Riverway that you're going to have connection to. You're going to connect our trails. You're going to connect Scioto Street. You're going to connect North Street. That whole barrier, you're going to have this contiguous downtown that's going to have this community that's going to be just flowing. It's just an amazing opportunity. It's a part of the continual reclaiming, rebirth of what we're doing with our downtown. This is an amazing opportunity.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. I think I had a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Introductory number 269 is authorizing an agreement with Life Science Laboratories, Inc. Questions, comments, or concerns? Entertain a motion?
So moved?
Moved. Second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Introductory number 270, authorizing agreements for the Blue Cross Arena Upgrades Project. Questions, comments, or concerns on 270? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Introductory number 285, authorizing an agreement for the interim management of the Blue Cross Arena at the War Memorial. Questions, comments, or concerns? I'll just say thank the administration for their work on this. I always have seen and always thought of the Blue Cross Arena as a possible strong economic development engine. And I think that this agreement could be the start of great things at that piece of property. So thank you, Mayor, to you and your team for moving quickly on an important situation, and I look forward to hearing more going forward. Anything else from Madam President?
I'd like to add my congratulations as well, and my optimism about the development of this agreement, that the potential is tremendous. The model that's being considered right now is one that we've sought for 25, 30 years, just to be able to work directly with the anchor tenant and have that part of the operation not be impeded by this octopus kind of three-legged stool that we've been working with. So I'm really, really excited about this.
Anything else? Councilwoman Clifford.
Thank you. Do we know why they did not respond to the 2016 RFP?
They were under different management at that time. The new team, Pagula Sports was under different management. When we had the issues with SMG, and they had trouble getting the contract for the Amerks, and we were getting ready to, hold SMG in default, and then we reached out to them. They were in a different position. We are thankful to PSC Sports because they decided that, okay, this is an opportunity and this is the time to come forward and work with the city of Rochester to not only build the Amerks brand, but also the PSC brand here in Rochester. And they're here today. I think I saw some. Oh, okay. They're here today as well. And so we just want to thank Kim and Terry for their leadership in Pagula Sports Entertainment and their team for being open to this opportunity. This is a new group of people that we're working with, and we think that they're excited about the possibilities of the Blue Cross Arena and are looking to go forward with us in the long term.
I think it is a great opportunity, and obviously the connection with the local sports teams is a really important one. And I'm not as familiar with PSC and what they do in other communities, but in terms of recruiting and promoting other non-sports events, can somebody speak to that a little bit? Because I know that was one of our concerns with SMG as well.
They currently manage the arena in Buffalo, and if you want to talk about.
Thank you.
KeyBank Arena, right?
Yeah, so we currently operate the KeyBank Center in Buffalo along with Harper Center that's kind of newly developed there, and New Era Field as well. So we're going to take a lot of the same strategies and success that we've had there and really, form this venue into that platform of success. So a lot of our team that does it in Buffalo currently will do it here in relation to myself and working through city officials and everyone is part of the process to continue to promote everything that happens downtown and especially at Blue Cross Arena.
Great. Do you see some additional opportunities for the Buffalo-Rochester connection, that there could be some efficiencies or some additional promotional?
Yeah, I mean, there's the markets are so close, and a lot of the attractions and things that we'll have at the arena is something that could draw from both markets and really have people visiting from all over the area. We see it as obviously Rochester being the base, but the market size and the stretch across Western New York is wider. So people coming in from more than an hour, 2 hours away wouldn't be that uncommon.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Councilwoman Ortiz.
So actually just a quick question. I'm glad that we are moving forward on trying to get something done here, but my question was I know during the time frame where the city is managing the property that really there was, at this time of the season and what the conditions are, there was not a need necessarily for the current employees there at the arena, but was curious as to what the plan or opportunity might be for calling back some of those employees, that particularly those longtime employees for that arena, and what that might look like to bring some of those folks back.
No, I think for us, there's obviously a lot of review for us to do in terms of staffing and figuring out what the right model is, and meeting with all the local unions and just figuring out how things sat with there and where the direction heads from there. We want to again implement a business model that we've had in similar to Buffalo at KeyBank Center from a structure standpoint. And again, yeah, there's a ton of history there and people that have spent time there and poured a lot into it, and everyone is open to interviewing or talking about employment, absolutely. But there's still a lot to be determined now. There's a lot to work through, and as everyone, people that have been around this week can attest, there's been a lot of moving parts, and so we're just kind of getting to a point where we're really going to start to figure that out.
Right, but I guess my question, are you expecting them to reach out to you, or will you specifically be reaching out to them to at least discuss what the plan might be, or what those opportunities could be?
Sure. I mean, we're going to begin to post positions, so obviously that door is always open.
Okay.
On the other side of things, you know, there's discussions to be had, but it's kind of it's a two-way street in a lot of ways. But again, it's a review period and process for us.
Okay.
Sure. I mean, again, it's a great, you know, there'll be a lot of job opportunities there and things for everyone in the local area.
Is there, again, can't tell you how to run a business, right? But is there any opportunity to provide some sort of preference, if you will, for those who actually have long-time experience there? I mean, we're talking about 25, 30-year employees that basically this is their livelihood, this is what they know, right? That have lost their jobs as a result of this, and they have families to take care of as well. So anything you can do to provide at least first chance or opportunities for those folks would be truly appreciated.
Absolutely, 100%.
Thank you. Anything else on this introductory 285, Madam President?
Just a final comment on my part. We keep talking about the Blue Cross Arena, the Blue Cross Arena. It is the Rochester Community War Memorial.
Yes, sir.
And we've got to not let that get too far from mind, because I think there's been a little neglect in that. So I'm going to stay on you on that.
and Madam President, I was happy that the introductory did say the Blue Cross Arena at the War Memorial. So that's a good thing. And when it was the War Memorial, there was a lot of I saw some of my best shows there. Janet Jackson was at that first concert. So if you want to bring her here, let me know. No, I'm kidding. With that, I'll entertain a motion for introductory 285. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you. Is there any other business to come before the Parks and Public Works Committee? Hearing none, we stand adjourned. Thank you.
Do we?
No, we got one more.
Oh, we got two. We're all right.
At this time, I'd like to call the Public Safety, Youth, and Recreation Committee. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Lightfoot.
Present.
Councilmember Gruber.
Here.
Councilmember Ortiz. Here. Vice President McFadden.
Here.
President Scott.
Let it reflect that we are with all of our members of City Council. Introductory number 271, a bond ordinance of the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $2,222,000 bonds of said city to finance costs of the replacement of a ladder truck at the Hudson Avenue Firehouse, one engine pumper at the Emerson Street Firehouse, and one engine pumper at the Wisconsin Street Firehouse. Any questions, comments, or concerns? I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Introduction passes. Introduction number 271, appropriating funds for the smoke detector installation program. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
72.
I'm sorry, 272, excuse me. Questions, comments, or concerns?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Introduction passes. Introductory number 273, appropriating funds and authorizing an agreement to implement the rock music program. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Introductory passes. Introductory number 274, authorizing an agreement for a Bomb Squad Initiative grant. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Introductory passes. Introductory number 275, appropriating funds and amending the 2018-19 Police Department budget for the operation of the Greater Rochester Area Neighborhood Narcotics Enforcement Team Program. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Introductory passes. Introductory number 276, determination and findings related to the acquisition of properties for the Campbell R. Center Gateway Improvement Project. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Introductory passes. Introductory number 277, authorizing the acquisition of negotiation of condemnation of properties for the Campbell R. Center Gateway Improvement Project. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion to adopt.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
To consider, I'm sorry. Yeah.
There's a public hearing notice for this
Okay.
today, and just for anyone that's waiting, if you might just notify them that that hearing's still on for today on this Campbell Street item.
Okay, so if there's anybody waiting for the public hearing on Campbell Street on this item, there will be a public hearing after said meeting, correct?
So motion to consider then.
Motion to consider.
So move.
Need a
Second.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Introductory passes. Introductory number 279, authorizing agreement for the Gun-Involved Violence Elimination Initiative. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Introductory passes. Introductory number 280, authorizing agreement related to support of the AmeriCorps Vista program. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Introductory passes. Is there any other business to come before the Public Safety, Youth, and Recreation Committee? If none, this is adjourned.
The Committee of the Whole will come to order, and the clerk will call the roll, please.
Councilmember Clifford? Councilmember Evans?
Present.
Councilmember Gruber?
Here.
Councilmember Lightfoot?
Present, ma'am.
Councilmember Ortiz? Councilmember Patterson? Councilmember Spall?
Here.
Vice President McFadden?
Here.
President Scott?
Here. We have before us today introductory number 278, legislation appointing Rosalind Brooks Harris as the new finance director for the city of Rochester. The confirmation hearing for this legislation will be held later this afternoon after public hearings. Therefore, I'm going to hold this in committee, and the council can take action at the regular council meeting on Tuesday. If there is no more business to come before the committee of the whole, we stand adjourned. We didn't do that. Okay. If we could take just a 2-minute break quickly before we go into the public hearings section. Thank you.
Yes, talk to me.
Questions and all that first?
Yeah, the actual hearing. She said at the meeting on Tuesday.
No, she's saying Tuesday.
But I'm wondering why we usually have the, Andrea, remember that? So I'm puzzled about what I'm doing here. But when do we do the? Yeah. An actual confirmation hearing. So why did we do that? Why did we not do it in the committee of the whole?
Because of the reason we do it because after when the public hearings went over, the
the time thing. Okay. All right, let me run to the... Older than you. Okay. We need to call the door.
Please take your seats.
Take my minute. I know, we're going to gather. Malik is out in the hall. Malik, tell him to come on in.
Okay.
So now,
Did she? Okay. Jackie's still here.
yeah.
What did you say? Is that for Michael? One of the, Adam, you guys are talking dirty or something, but I don't think you care. But one of the things,
The meeting will come to order and the clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Clifford. Councilmember Evans.
Present.
Councilmember Gruber.
Here.
Councilmember Lightfoot.
Present, ma'am.
Councilmember Ortiz. Councilmember Patterson. Councilmember Spall.
here?
Vice President McFadden. Here. President Scott.
Here, I would now ask the clerk to begin the hearings.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter: approving an urban renewal plan for the Bull's Head Urban Renewal Area, introductory number 258. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
We do have a 3-minute limit. You'll hear a 30-second buzzer, and that gives you 30 seconds to complete your remarks.
Can you turn the mic on, please?
Thank you, Madam President. Kept hearing the attendance roll call, and I kept wanting to say here. Reflex. So, my name is John Lightfoot. I am the president of Changing of the Scenes Neighborhood Association, whose boundaries are west by Genesee Street, and they're north by Main Street, and east for Ford Street, and south on Dr. Senator McCree Way, which our organization, formerly known as Mayor Heights, over 2 decades ago, touches the brownfield. Well, part of it is in the brownfield area. And so I also serve as the assistant minority leader of the legislative body across the street. And my boundaries are Genesee Street, the west side of Genesee Street, and north to 490. So as a resident in the neighborhood, community leader, and the elected official, I'm here to show my support for the urban renewal plan for the Bull's Head Urban Renewal Area. I've been active in this process for quite a long time. Some of the earlier discussions happened under the Bill Johnson administration that I knew of as the Sector 4 Community Development Corporation, CDC, under Umar Mustafa, who's now deceased. So I had to bring that up because he's just been part of our community. It's just what it is. So again, I support and I'm asking for you to approve the urban renewal plan for Bull's Head. Thank you very much.
Any other speakers?
Hello, council members. My name is Wendell Hunter. I'm a representative of DePaul Properties. As you know, we operate a facility located at 750 to 782 West Main Street. As a major stakeholder in the Bull's Head neighborhood, DePaul Property expresses full support for proposed Bullhead Urban Renewal Plan. I believe this revitalization of Bull's Head is long awaited, and we appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this significant endeavor. And that's all I wanted to say on behalf of DePaul. Thank you.
Additional speakers?
Good evening, Council. My name is Jim Harrison. I am here to express full support for the Bull's Head Urban Renewal Plan as submitted to you for approval on behalf of Rochester Regional Health. As the owner-operator of the St. Mary's Medical Facility, we're a key stakeholder in the Bull's Head community, and we are very much interested and excited about partnering with the city on this revitalization plan. Thank
you. The time is 3 minutes, and you'll hear a buzzer at 30 seconds to let you know you must complete your remarks.
Can you hear? Okay. My name is John DeMott. I'm 53 4-year resident of the 19th Ward neighborhood, live on Genesee Park Boulevard. The last 20 years of my life have been devoted to community revitalization, most of that in the Brooks Landing area. Full disclosure, I work for the 19th Ward Community Association. We have a contract with NBD to do community engagement for the Bull's Head Revitalization Project. So my job is to make sure my community is engaged in that redevelopment process. You know, John just mentioned Sector 4 CDC. It's an organization I worked for many, many years. Not many people know that the original name of Sector 4 CDC was the Bull's Head Community Development Corporation. It was formed in 1997 to redevelop Bull's Head. And for one reason or another, that redevelopment has been, you know, has slid to the right. So we've had public meetings on Bull's Head going back 2007, 8, 9, large public meeting in 2009, 2011, 2013, and a year ago, July 26th, we had the largest public meeting, and the job, myself and my deceased partner, Don Hanks, our job was to put people in the room. We put 104 people at St. Mary's, and our mayor spoke to them, and she said 2 things I'll never forget. One is that, oh, by the way, we just purchased Bull's Head Plaza, and that was a great uplift to the community. It'll accelerate our ability to redevelop the Bull's Head project. The second thing she said is, in answer to everyone who asked her, who's making the decisions about what's going to happen at Bull's Head? And she turned to the crowd and said, you all are going to make those decisions. So she's fully behind the work that we do to get the community engaged, keep the community engaged at Bull's Head. There's another public meeting coming September 6th of this year. We hope to have at least 100 people in that room, if not more. And we pride ourselves on being able to get the owners of property. That's easy. The people who live in the area but don't own property, in other words, renters, business owners who don't own their property, we track them down and find them. The major stakeholders, Rochester Regional, DePaul, and others, churches, Eureka, Mason's Lodge, the Hells Angels, we get them all in the room. One quick observation, I was long involved with the the Brooks Landing project with Councilman McFadden, Dana Miller, John Borick, and others. That sputtered until it was declared, until we arranged for it to be an urban renewal district. We need to do the same thing at Bull's Head. We don't have developers beating on City Hall to redevelop Bull's Head like we do. It's not Parcel 5, and we won't get developers to the table until we can quickly assemble the land and present it to them.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
My name is Bill Washington. I'm a stakeholder in Bull's Head, in the Bull's Head area. Not only that, I am the president of the Bull's Head area since 2006. And we've been planning this before 2006, hoping for change in our area. I can remember when I moved over there in 88, there was neighbors living there before me, and there was word that change was going to come. And that was in 88. And so by 1990, the name would be Ernestine Council and Troy Council lived at 141 Silver Street. I wasn't interested in no community or nothing like that. But the hopes of change, they trained me how to pick up the paper in the street, shovel the snow in the wintertime, even if it's not on my side of the street or whatever the case may be. That showed me a joy and a love for our community. Now today, I was putting a $3,500 garage floor on my garage today, and the man came from Pittsburgh, and he was so surprised. He was like, "You're going to spend money in this community? That's not heard of. Not down here. In Pittsburgh, yeah, but not on Bull's Head." I said, "But I live here, and I lived here for over 30 years, and I'm interested in staying because I love this place. I have never believed it would be so nice to live where I live today. I've never had problems over there, me personally. And I just love the place. It's a rich neighborhood. I've been working so much, I didn't notice all the cobblestone on every building. And the man said this today. He said, "You didn't notice all of this? all of these big buildings and how they were built a long time ago. And I said, you know what? They wasn't built for us, but we get a chance to live in them. And I know the value of it. When you're only paying right now, you're only paying less than $1,400 in taxes a year. You're doing a pretty good job to live somewhere. So I enjoy living over there. I enjoy living in Rochester. And it's just been a pleasure to be a part. And also, before I go, there used to be a Main Quest. They're not anymore because we voted to get rid of them and put the Paul in there, 1728 Brown Street. And look how much better it has been. It has been a turnaround from what it used to be to what it is now. I can remember I just walked up to Adam McFadden and I said, don't you remember we've been fighting this fight for a long time on the news, Channel 8? He said, I haven't seen you in a while. I said, I've been like Key Bank. I'm just a key player, like Citizens. I'm just excited. Thank you, and I hope that we make a change in that area.
Good evening. My name is Shirley Stokes, and I'm here representing Interfaith Gospel Tabernacle at 32 York Street. And we are in support of the revitalization program for Bull's Head. And I just want to say, we're in that community. When we came in that community, we came on York Street, there was a lot of drug dealing and all of that. But because of our church, we gained the respect of the guys and the people in the neighborhood, and that's gone away. At least that's gone away around our church. And we also get weekly distributions from Wegmans that we give out to our community. So every Saturday, we have people that come to our church for whatever we get, bread, vegetables, fruit, snacks, whatever we get, we have that. And they want to know that we're going to be around, or where are we going to go. So we're in support of that because we need a bigger area. We also had a GED program going on there for 2 years. So, and that was from BOCES too. And wherever we go, they want to come back again. So I'm in support of it because that will only improve that neighborhood. Thank you.
Are there any other speakers for this item? If not, the hearing is closed.
Pursuant to law, a public hearing will now be had on the following matter: authorizing pavement width changes for Field Street at school number 35, introductory number 264. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
Hello. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak. My family has lived across the street from the Field Street School for over 20 years now, because I guess I moved in when I was 5. We just have a small concern while the construction goes on, and that's traffic calming on Laburnum. If you're familiar with the geography, from Monroe to about where the schoolyard starts, there's actually a great traffic calming that's done between city improvements from years past and alternate parking. But when you get to the schoolyard, it's a straightaway, and you would be amazed how quickly somebody going, 25 miles an hour can rip up the street to the stop sign at much higher speeds. In fact, unfortunately, last week our family pet was killed in a hit and run right across at the mouth of a parking lot. So what I'm asking for is a consideration of some kind of traffic calming, particularly during the construction, because on Field there are speed bumps, and on Crosman, the parallel street on our other side, there are speed bumps, but that part right by the school and the schoolyard is just wide open. There's no alternate parking, there's no slowdown at all. So if there's only one sign closer to Monroe, which I kind of think you almost forget about by the time you get to the schoolyard. So I would respectfully request some thought given and maybe signage or something that can be there. There was a big pothole, actually, because there was some water work, and that was the best traffic calming I've ever seen. That's been filled up because that work is done, but But anything you can do, our family would really appreciate it, and our neighbors and all the little kids who play in the park. Thank you.
Good evening, Dwayne Bash, 25 Rosedale Street. I'm in favor of the widening project as well. My concern is relative to Pinnacle. It looks as though there's some temporary drop-off areas that are going to be concrete sidewalks put in. I think that there needs to be a plan specifically to address the bus movement during that period of time, if that's really what those are intended for. Otherwise, I'm not sure what we're pouring concrete on the side of the sidewalk for. Thanks.
Are there any other speakers? Now that hearing is closed.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter: authorizing the acquisition by negotiation or condemnation of properties for the Campbell R Center Gateway Improvement Project. Introductory number 277. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
There are no speakers. That hearing is closed. That concludes our public hearings on these matters for this month. These items will be taken up at our full meeting on Tuesday, July 24th. This meeting is adjourned. We now will proceed to the confirmation hearing for Rosalind Brooks Harris. I'd like to call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Clifford. Councilmember Evans.
Present.
Councilmember Gruber.
Here.
Councilmember Lightfoot.
Present, ma'am.
Councilmember Ortiz. Here. Councilmember Patterson. Here. Councilmember Spall. Here. Vice President McFadden. Here. President Scott.
Here. We're here today to hold the confirmation hearing as required by the city charter in regards to the appointment of the city's finance director. Before us this month for consideration is introductory number 278, legislation appointing Rosalind Brooks Harris to serve as the Director of Finance. Mayor Warren, would you like to make a statement regarding the appointment of Mrs. Brooks Harris?
Thank you, Madam President.